This is the intro music of the commercial that I'm about to start doing right about now. Hello, how are you? So if you are seeking an accountability coach to follow your dreams in life, if you want to start a dream business, if you have an interest to do something that's a little bit out of the ordinary compared to the context of your past existence and time, and you want to restructure and you want to rethink and you want to reconceptualize, I am here today to try to introduce myself. This is Dinky Tech and Change for Game Studios, the brand, the company, the purpose-driven organization and entity that's trying to be today your accountability coach and accountability coach therapist. For today's episode, this is a little bit of a commercial for accountability coach therapy for all those listeners out there to be able to understand that they are able to shift the context around them to be able to revert back to childhood, and that's okay, and that's also what it is necessary to do to become what it is you want to do in terms of your mindset, to be able to be the thing that you might just want to do in terms of a business, in terms of developing a business, in terms of having an ambition to try to follow, in terms of being an accountability coach therapist. This is the accountability coach therapy session. So when it comes down to it, a lot of people have these business dreams and they want to conceptualize a concept and a path. But in many instances, there is this thing that's blocking them. And unfortunately, the problem is adulthood. It's the problem. It's the blocking. It's the blockade. It's the blockage. What we have to do is try to remove this thing known as adulthood. If you don't mind, please work with me on this and roll with me a little bit. So we just have to remove adulthood out of this process, and now we become children again. And with this in mind, this is the refreshment for our energy, for our lives, for our sensation, our perspectives, our conceptual mindsets, our way of going about everything. And so with this in mind, when you're looking at your dream business from the perspective of a child, you then want to, in essence, play games to be able to try to get to the result that you're trying to get to eventually, and that result that you're trying to get to eventually by starting that business in the first place is philanthropy. That's philanthropy energy at the back end. That is philanthropy energy. That is the goal. Philanthropy energy is the treasure that you're seeking at the back end of what you're trying to do as a dream business. Whoa. And this is because all businesses are geared towards philanthropy to be able to solve problems at the back end of businesses, and that therefore necessitates the ability to be able to try to play games to be able to get to those philanthropic goals, in essence, to be able to try to make the world into a change for games universe, in essence, a games for change universe, a change for games universe among all of us, all of us people. So to be the therapist and provide a little bit of therapy for all people, as a commercial for being an accountability coach therapist for all people that want to start dream businesses and need a little bit of accountability, because not many other people are really going to look out for their goals after all, because you have to pay people typically to be able to try to get a little bit of accountability to be able to follow through with certain goals that have to do with staying in line with a certain dream business, which has to do with ultimately philanthropy at the back end of that dream business. We're here today to give a little bit of therapy before even accountability coaching, in essence, because it is okay. It's okay that you're an adult. It's okay. We're trying to calm the process down, calm everything down, take a step back, and just trying to, from, a wider lens, a wider mirror lens, be able to pull the spectrum back, be able to pull the microscope back a little bit, and be able to just raise the perspective, the purview, point of view, from a higher up perspective, to be able to see yourself from the back, to be able to see yourself from the sky, and be able to look down and just let yourself fly backwards up into the air, and just also make it feel like it's okay, it's all right, it's okay. You're obligated to be an adult because of age. Whoa, but at the heart of you, you're still a kid, you're still a child, and that the world, it obligated you to become an adult after all. And so therefore, you're in this structure, you're in this mindset, you're in this mode, you're in this process that has to do with adulthood, and that's okay. We're here to tell you in this therapy session, more or less accountability coach therapy session, it's more or less an advertisement for accountability coach therapy, that in essence, with this session, we're trying to acknowledge that it's okay to be an adult, because everybody's doing it. And as a result, everybody's obligated to be able to play the role of adults. Okay? So with this in mind, with this acknowledgement that it's okay, you don't have to feel bad that you're an adult, in essence, and it's kind of a joke and kind of not, obviously, it's kind of a satire, it's kind of a spoof on something that doesn't even exist, and we're kind of making this, as we go, this accountability coach therapy session scenario advertisement, because in essence, we're trying to make it okay, and we're trying to develop an awareness that adulthood is not exactly aligned with childhood. It's not to say it's not normal, but it's not normal in the sense that when you're a child, everything flows, everything is what it is, everything comes as it is, and it goes as it goes, and there's not a lot of thought before or after in terms of how the energy comes in and goes out in terms of existence, in terms of flowing, in terms of playing, because there's a structure that embodies that child play, which has to do with parents and parental guidance, that has to do with the navigating of the actual world, which is kind of like another peculiar example in of itself in the outside world, to be able to stay within the realm of a sort of a force field within childhood that is held together by parenthood, more or less, in terms of security and structure and safety and things of this nature. But when we flip the script on its side and we have this conceptual ability where a business is like a childhood game, more or less, in the world, where in essence you have to get to the goal, you have to get to the treasure, that is philanthropy energy, and the treasure is philanthropy energy. When you're trying to seek to solve a problem, which is a business, which is trying to seek a treasure chest full of philanthropy energy, you then therefore can become a kid again by having this accountability coach therapy session, more or less by acknowledging that childhood spirit has the ability to help to seek out and sniff out and play out missions a little bit better than the adulthood self, which has 400,000 advertisements from 400,000 different things that you probably don't care about or even want, bombarding and literally in front of you, sort of booming across your attention at all given times, trying to distract you from the person that you are as a child, which is more or less unnatural to a certain extent, based on trying to develop consistent certain societal structures that are only being born and birthed from a place of monetary energy base, meaning that those companies want to earn monetary energy, they want to earn money, and it's a great competition for attention, and whoever wins the prize, wins the product, wins the sale, and that therefore is how the world is built. That is the world that we have and how the world is built, and this thing called an economy and this thing called a money game, and that is a little bit strange. So in this new world that we're talking about building, more or less all together in Dinky Tech and Change for Game Studios world, more or less we're trying to acknowledge that it's okay in this therapy session to be a child again, that it's okay to be an adult also, and that it's okay to be able to revert back to childhood, to be able to fulfill your business dreams, because business, after all, has a treasure chest of philanthropy energy at the back end of it, and to get to it, it's best to be like a child, to be able to go and navigate through the world of life, because after all, that is the purpose of Dinky Tech and Change for Game Studios, is to change the global environment and the spectrum of life, the scope of life, to be able to bring ourselves back to the base and the basics of childhood, to where you played outside, you played outdoors every day, more or less, sometimes with your friends. It was part of nature to be able to go outside and run around and play outside like that, like games and such things. And that's why we're trying to invent new sports. We're trying to consciously invent new sports, but at the same time, we're trying to have all people become inventors of new sports as well, and become vigilant in the same way that people are using ChatGPT to be able to develop new content on the internet, that they can use ChatGPT to develop new sports and utilize AI, artificial intelligence to develop brand new sports. So that in essence, these new sports have the ability to develop a whole new sports business, and basically a new category of sports also known as philanthropy sports. So these philanthropy sports are the same as businesses, more or less. Basically, philanthropy sports are the same as businesses, because it's similar to becoming a child again, because in essence you have to play like a child, and similar to playing a sport where you go to a field and you play a sport, but in essence you have to hold that persona, you have to hone that personality, hone in on that personality to be able to get to the end of the obstacle course, where in essence you get the prize for the philanthropy energy. You have to hold on to that child mindset, because the playing doesn't stop. The obstacle courses don't stop. The mentality doesn't necessarily stop, because the ongoing field does not necessarily stop. And so this whole process is a matter of for us as a company, Dinky Tech and Change for Game Studios, trying to change the nature and the fabric of all of the outdoor energy that happens outdoors, similar to I talked about in our last episode, I talked about having a soccer race where two people ran down the street, in essence, to be able to deliver food to a church, but it was also a race. So it's a sanctioned race where it's actually a business, where that race is a sanctioned business because it's in essence televised, or there's media, or there's advertising, or one thing or another. It's edutainment because it's one thing or another, because ultimately it's an entertainment thing, and it's also edutainment because it's teaching people how to do philanthropy, because they're racing down the street with soccer balls and they're dodging obstacles to be able to get to the church, to be able to deliver the food, and then therefore it's a philanthropy energy. It's a philanthropy sport, more or less, based around soccer, which was the initial sport and the initial source for the initial inspiration. So soccer evolved into a philanthropy sport, and that's just an example, but there's many, many more other things which then can be more or less obviously played outdoors, which is what it is like to be a child, in essence. And that's sort of our goal, is to be able to change the whole fabric and the landscape of the lifestyle that we live, so that just like when you take a soccer ball outside, in essence, people are able to light up and illuminate based on different games being played that are overlapping with each other, just like different cars on the road that in essence are driving all sorts of different directions, basically, but they're all of their directions are guided by monetary energy these days. Basically, all of the directions and the guidance. And so all these cars, it's like they drive in these, paths, and it's reflected upon the path. It's less excitement than if everybody was running down the street trying to get to different churches, and they're all trying to dodge each other while they're juggling soccer balls to be able to deliver food. That's sort of a more entertaining vehicle. That's also sort of a more entertaining end result, because other people are able to benefit from the entertainment, and then also at the end of it, there's philanthropy that's being done. So this is what we're trying to hone in on, and we're also trying to take over the landscape of outdoor marketing as we know it. We're trying to make the whole world into like a big flash mob of sports that are happening all together, just like cars that are on the road. As you see them all right now, they're all playing different games, they're all playing different business games, they're all playing different lifestyles, and they're all going different directions. And we want the same thing to occur with everybody as a person, more or less, as their business vehicle, as they drive down the road of life, in essence, to be able to play outdoor marketing games where they're all outdoor marketing for their own games, because different people follow different sports, different people follow different games, and we want there to be a large structure for this landscape of games and sports to be able to be played and crosshatched, just like different vehicles driving down the road. And some people all drive the same car, and that's indicative of similar games that are being supported in a similar fashion to a certain extent. And so we're just trying to think about how to overtake the outdoor marketing nature of the outdoor visuals, of the outdoor processes, of the outdoor spectrums, of the outdoor flows of energies in every given direction, in terms of cross-hatching flows and energies of grid-hatching, cross-hatching flows of existence energy that can then therefore transition into games, which can then on the back end of those games have philanthropy become the result of those games, and then so on and so forth, so that those can happen in a perpetual, hopefully, type of a fashion. And so with that in mind, it's like almost like we're trying to develop like a new app store as well, like a new Apple app store, like they have their apps and applications where everybody is able to develop apps in this regard, but we're trying to develop philanthropy sports, more or less. Philanthropy sports businesses, in essence, you could call it that as well, because there's in essence an edutainment element to all of these businesses at the same time, so that there's people that want to watch, and there's in essence opportunities for advertising, conceptual content, reflection on certain popularized sports that are functional and more or less like credible, and like they gain credibility within audiences and the media and such things of this nature, similar to YouTube videos that become popular more or less. So we're just trying to change the productivity of similar energy that takes more or less similar actions to be able to facilitate media experiences and media consumption, to be able to transition that into a world where more or less a lot of people are live streaming in the whole world, and they're also playing these games, so that they're reporting on these games as they do them, and that philanthropy sports businesses are similar to what YouTube videos are today, so that then therefore we're also able to take over the outdoor marketing space, and the more outdoor philanthropy business sports games are being played, that the more that our company hopefully is able to be credited, so hopefully in an organic sense, because we're trying to influence the outdoor marketing space, so the Dinky Tech and Change for Game Studios is something of a center place of attention, center space of attention, for being able to try to functionally help everybody become kids again, at the same time by, in essence, more or less, acknowledging the outdoor space in this new Apple App Store version of Dinky Tech and Change for Game Studios App Store that more or less is being created by a lot of different people outside that are leveraging things such as artificial intelligence, AI, NFTs, and such things, where they're having symbols for these games, where in essence they create rules through these processes of applications, artificial intelligence, and and so this influences the outdoor processes where people are able to participate in these apps, similar to Pokemon Go, the game Pokemon Go, but in essence it's based around philanthropy more or less, as opposed to digital capturing of digital creatures in essence. So like we're just trying to transpose things that are already happening, but we're really trying to hopefully to just crosshatch with the existing outdoor space of in real life space of existing outdoor interaction of existing life energy, to be able to transition that, to be able to make somehow philanthropy sports, and somehow overtake this outdoor mindset where everybody feels the need to pretend to be adults, and everybody can then be okay with being dirty. Everybody can then be okay with not being perfect. Everybody can then be okay with not being a perfect alignment, a perfect person in terms of alignment with other people in the world that they think that they should fit in with, or other people that have similar items that are materialisms that they for some reason think that they should own because their next door neighbor owns them, and things of this nature that seem a little bit nutty and weird and strange and peculiar in the world of adulthood versus the world of childhood, where none of those things actually existed because none of those things were necessary. None of those things needed to exist because there was no pinging, there was no energy that related to any political reasons in adulthood for them to need to actually, or to have to participate in anything like this as a child in childhood. So that's why we're coming back to the original commercial message, saying ultimately that it's okay that you're an adult, it's all right that you're an adult, it's okay. And we don't want to make it like, a derogatory process or framework that being an adult was, forecast or was a necessity to become that after all. But we're trying to work backwards and reverse engineer the process so that we can become the people that we actually still are, which is kids inside. We're still all those kids that are the base framework of all of us as people, so that we have the best chance to be able to make the most interesting, best application store that we can collectively all develop, that is the new form of basically Apple, in essence, where we're leveraging all the elements that we have in the world to develop new technology, including our mini recumbent bicycle, which is made to feel like a floating bicycle, more or less, like our mini recumbent bicycle. If we can continue to sell, if we are successful at developing and manufacturing a worldwide audience of our recumbent mini bicycle that has this experience of floating, that we're trying to just get to the market as soon as possible, in essence, if we can get that going, that we can try to leverage like Tesla, technology to be able to track and develop continuous credibility and energy and more or less credit, like a credit system, more or less, but like for impact credit scores that are happening, meaning impact scores that are being tracked more or less around the world, and that there's impact development data that's tracking and streaking from different people in different reports, similar to a blockchain reporting different impact and positive philanthropy energy that's happening all around the world, more or less. And we could try to leverage this data to be able to continue to accumulate different processes and inspirations for new data to continue to be formed, and try to continue to percolate and populate new artificial intelligence, hopefully collaborations, to continue to try to develop these new interesting games, to try to continue to inspire, similar to how people compete on YouTube, different people competing for new cool philanthropy sports, more or less, to be able to try to develop the new cool fad within philanthropy sports, because everybody then going outside and playing games such as outdoor sports that are based around philanthropy, to be able to give and add to the global giving in the world, and add to global good in the world, and add to everybody connecting to the global philanthropy energy grid in the whole world, to be able to benefit all human beings in the whole world, since we're all connected like a chain, and the weakest link in the chain is still a reflection on the whole entire chain. And after all, once you acknowledge the chain, then therefore you want to acknowledge the weakest link in the chain, then therefore we can all start to work together as all 8 billion people in the world, all 8 billion people in the world connected through games for change, and changing for games at the same time. And therefore, with this in mind, we have the ability to more or less just sort of, ease on out of this episode, in essence, by just kind of conceptualizing, being able to, to connect with the framework that, in essence, as an accountability coach, therapist, that we're, trying to hold you accountable for your business that you want to make, in essence, in the world. And that's why we have real estate and asset brokers around the whole world, to be able to try to help to serve you and serve you to be able to transition and liquidate all of your assets, more or less, if you want, or be able to restructure your portfolios, to be able to buy and sell some different things so that you can restructure your life, to be able to play the games that you want to play and make the businesses that you want to say and play and restructure in the way that you want to. And all of our connected asset brokers and such things and brokerage counterparts are in essence also accountability coaches in essence. So in essence, like, this is a therapy session for accountability coaching and to move in that direction, to be able to acknowledge that it's okay to be a kid again. It's okay to be a kid again. That's what this therapy session is about, because once you're a kid again, once you ease into that mindset, it's okay to also to go into our brokerage, to be able to connect with our brokerage, to be able to vibe with the restructuring mindset that you might want to do once you feel, again, like it's okay and you have permission, more or less, to become a kid again, because it's almost a necessity in this new world where, in essence, you want to lean back and just vibe with who you actually are and who you most naturally are, which is a kid on that schoolyard field playing games when you were a young kid. And in essence, like, it's meant to get easier, not harder. That's the purpose of this, in essence, so you can continue doing whatever in life that you want to do. We just want you to add, or be able to have the ability to add to the things that you really most wanted to do, in essence, and always have had, but have never been told that you have the opportunity to, or that you're good enough, or that you're not able to do certain things, or that you can feel okay about trying certain things. That's in essence what we're trying to give permission for in doing that. And because being a child again offers just making those decisions without even thinking twice about them necessarily, because it seems fun. For example, if you're like on a schoolyard, for example, and you make a decision, it's because you wanted to choose a toy on the schoolyard that was more fun. You just chose a game that was just more fun, and that's all you wanted to do at lunch. There's no obligation to stay on any given sport. You just transition to a different, more interesting game. And that's in essence what the game of business can be. And you're given permission in this episode. You're given permission in this therapy session, in essence, from this accountability coach, which is Dinky Tech and Change for Game Studios, and this episode, to give you more or less the permission to be able to be the kid that you want to be in this life, because the game of business is guided by the treasure chest of philanthropy energy that's at the back end of that. And so no matter what your process is in life, on a regular day-to-day basis, you can be that kid when you're off hours, when you're off whatever shift that you need to be on. And you can be that kid by pursuing the business, the dream business that you want to do. And it starts with the dream business, and it also is facilitatable by playing more games and collaborating more with artificial intelligence to be able to give them suggestions for you to develop games in our new app store, basically like an app store for you to continue to contribute into new businesses that you might want to develop, or new flash mob sports with philanthropy at the back end of them, that you can play games, help people play games like kids in new business philanthropy sports across the whole world, so we can continue to take over outdoor marketing and make the whole world fun collectively by bringing down borders, so we can cross all borders and make the whole world a fun place and develop and build upon the whole entire world, just like the game of Minecraft or just like the game of Sims, except we do it in the real world, because we're all working together, we're all working collectively to build up the whole world, to connect with each other, to build the whole world, and build all of ourselves, meaning all 8 billion people at the same time, by trying to bring sports into the forefront to make all of us capable of developing this process, to continue to develop this energy, to continue to develop this perpetual process of love, kindness, and building for all of each other's spirits and characters as a priority among all 8 billion people in the world, by focusing on the global philanthropy energy grid that connects all people in the world by electricity. And finally, when there's windows of mentality, this is a conclusion. When you have windows of mentality, when you see opportunities, people to call, when you think about people to call, you see an opportunity, a window. I call them windows of mentality. People call them windows of opportunity. Windows of mentality means that they're thoughts. You have windows of mentality all the time. Windows of opportunity are like you're looking for opportunity. It makes it seem scarce. Windows of mentality is when you have a thought. You have thoughts all day, every day. You jump through the windows 20 times a day, 50 times a day, if possible, 10 times a day, 3 times a day, 1 time a day, 50 times a day. It doesn't matter. You keep jumping through the windows, keep jumping through the windows of mentality, and all of those are representative of actions to represent trying to connect with people that can help to grow your business, to network with people in the world. Continue to jump through those windows of mentality. When you see opportunity, and you can see a connector, when you see a conduit, when you see somebody in your network on LinkedIn, or you see somebody in your network in life, or you see an opportunity to send somebody a text because you're thinking about a context that can connect you or further your philanthropy energy wanting to business, do it. Jump through the windows of mentality ASAP. All right, that's all for now, I suppose you could say. Thanks again. Dinky Tech, Change for Game Studios. Dinky Tech, Change for Games. Bye, peace, bye.